It's wonderful to have you with us in this session of When Spirit Floods In, this powerful magic of divine self-remembrance. So let's tune into remembering that divinity within. And I'm your host, Kathleen Anne Johnson, and I'm so thrilled to share with you the beautiful inspiration and wisdom of the speakers in this summit. They're so incredible. So to begin with, as I've been doing, I'm going to play this beautiful crystal singing bowl, which is Grandfather and Violet Ocean Gold. And this is actually my shaman bowl. So let's take some nice deep breaths and close your eyes. And as you breathe, breathing in that sound, breathing in light, breathing in openness to receiving, and letting go of any tension, any thoughts of the day, and just bringing yourself here, just to receive all that you need today. Thank you. So I am so pleased to introduce our amazing speaker today, Dr. Tom Garcia. Tom is a shaman, a psychedelic guide, an integration coach, and a retired chiropractor, still active in the field of vitalistic health and spiritual mentoring. His ceremonial work with psilocybin mushrooms helps people resolve internal conflict, focusing on what they value most, to create a breakthrough in self-awareness and higher purpose, which is totally in line with our theme of When Spirit Floods In. And he shares powerful tools to integrate the transformation they experience into all areas of their life and relationships. So welcome, Tom. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm very calm now, ready for our conversation. Yeah, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure for me to be here.
You're welcome, and we're really interested in hearing more, at least I am, about the sacred use of psychedelics in helping us to remember who we truly are as the divine beings.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your background and journey and what you did before and how your journey evolved with plant medicine, psychedelics, and shamanism?
That's a big question. Well, as you said, I was a chiropractor, so I'm retired from practice. I was in practice for over 30 years, and I knew there was something else, something more on the other side of my chiropractic career, even during that time, halfway through my career. And the catalyst, if you will, and I say this not just for myself, but for all of us, for everyone who's listening, that we have catalysts in our lives, crucible moments, turning points. And so the one significant one for me was the passing of a very dear friend of mine. And my wife and I took care of him the last 18 months of his life in our home, and really witnessed his withdrawal from life and his fear of death, and holding his hand, right to the precipice and seeing him off. And something happened to me, something shifted in me that I didn't see coming. And I started going to the woods. spending a lot of time in the woods alone. Uh, I'd, I'd make an altar, build a fire, and sit with my journal open and just listen. And I would do this in the early mornings before sunrise and in the evenings at sunset. And then I started staying out all night, working with psilocybin, with mushrooms. And it seems as if it were almost by accident, but there was no accident. And I primarily worked alone. So I would go to the woods in the late afternoon alone and stay out all night. And I did that for 11 years on a regular basis. When we talk about when spirit floods in, for me, it was very much like being taken by the nape of the neck out into the woods, put on the ground, and in a way directed to make a fire and to create ceremony and listen and to work with the mushrooms. And so for 11 years I did that. And then I started, during that time I was starting to bring others to the fire in a ceremonial way, in a ceremonial space without mushrooms. But then for the last 6 or 7 years, I've been actively guiding others with the mushrooms in the psychedelic experience. And when I say guide, I'm not interfering with or directing their journey. I'm holding powerful, sacred space, a safe space for them to awaken into and truly to remember who they are. That was my experience. I had the experience, an evolving experience of remembering who I am, because I was asking for that with all my heart. I want to know who I am, why I'm here, and who sent me. And in effect saying, and I'm not going home till I get some answers. And the answers came. And I say that with the awareness that it's possible for each and every one of us, that as we ask questions with all our heart, the answers come. They're destined to come, to be provided for us, and they're provided from deep within. So when I say psychedelic guide and integration coach, it doesn't even begin to touch what I'm really doing. It's a shamanic space that I'm holding for people. We work outside on the earth, just the way I was trained by the medicine and the fire, outside on the earth, under the open sky, at the fire's edge, listening. And what emerges from that time together is a dialogue during that time. Every journey has an arc, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's that peaking time when the medicine's really active within us, and there's images and memories and insights and revelations and all kinds of things coming in, and in part prompted by the intentions we set beforehand, but also by how the medicine works within us to reveal to us what we most need to see about ourselves that we may not have been aware of going into the journey. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I've said, I didn't see that coming. And it's always good, even when it's difficult. And so we're exposed to the elements. There's elemental exposure, which is really powerful and distinct from being inside in a house or a room or in a therapeutic setting, or taking psilocybin as a treatment alternative for a mental condition. Although all that's helpful, but working shamanically outdoors is distinctly different. And so that's been my journey. It continues, it's ever evolving. And I love working with people. It's a strange thing to say I love the mess of people, because you gotta love the mess of people to help them sort that stuff out, to get clear, to help them clear the deck, remove outside distractions, soften the ego, and hang it up. We hang it up at the outside of the circle so we can get some work done and be out of our minds for a little while. And I'm very much, cognizant, even though I'm under the influence at the same time as my clients, I am acutely aware of what's happening and listening with everything for them, with them, and to them. and helping to be a reflection, helping to reflect back to them who they are, that they cannot see. And having developed both a listening and the skill of being able to just look at people, to see someone, to see right through them to who they are, to see past all their stuff, like we all have stuff, and to see through all of that to just to the heart of who they are and love them right where they are. It's about love in essence, with or without plant medicine. It's about that love.
Absolutely. And I so appreciate what you've shared and the beautiful, I mean, I can just picture the beauty of, I just love nature. I love sitting in nature. Matter of fact, I was just in Cambodia and the earth was just, oh, incredible energies of this lushness and this feminine energy just like rising up and filling me with its beauty and love and just like letting me know the earth is with you.
Yeah.
And so all of these things that you're sharing, I totally resonate with.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that you have taken so much time sitting with that,
Mhm.
sitting in ceremony for years to really get to this place that you're able to help others so much in their journey. And like you said, see what is the true love and light that they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite a privilege. I mean, to think, and I have this, it comes to me frequently, to think that this is my work, to think this is what I have to offer others. And and then in turn, what others can offer to their world from the experience of having been awakened. Not like a one and done, but to wake up to who they truly are and then to share from the heart who they are through their work, through their relationships, through every aspect of their lives. Because every aspect of their lives is touched by the medicine experience and the experience that we have together.
Yeah, so what are some of the reasons that people decide to use plant medicine? What motivates them to come into this ceremonial approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. By the time they find their way to me, which is to say when I get a text or an email or a phone call, I know there's no accident that they found their way to me. They found their way when we get so far as the fire to the fire. And frame that when we're at the fire like there is no way you could have found your way here by accident to this and to the medicine. So I know your spirit sent you here. That you sent out a call. This is a little bit esoteric, but long ago you sent out a call to yourself to awaken at the appointed time, and this is your time. And here we are. So what, in my experience, what calls people is a calling. There's something in them that's like a tug, a prompt, a longing, a yearning that doesn't go away. And given the how much plant medicine, psychedelics, the whole genre has come onto into mass consciousness, into the media, into government, into legislation and passing laws and uh, you know, ballots to decriminalize or legalize plant medicine as it has been here in Colorado. So it's in the public consciousness, it's in the awareness, and people are like, maybe that's for me. But I'm not the guy who's going to diagnose anybody for anything because I'm not treating anything. So I typically don't have folks come to me that are like looking for a cure for something, although it comes up. And I have to say, we are not treating or fixing anything here. There's nothing wrong with you. We're looking for what's right. And that's what we want to expose or reveal, unconceal. So it's a longing like that. Um, I think people, generally speaking, when I say people, are recognizing it's not quite right to say something's wrong, but that something is off, something's not quite right in our reality, that we've been sold a bill of goods, we've been conditioned, um, information, disinformation, misinformation, all of that, you know, and the intuitive self, our higher selves are like, something not right about that. You know, it's upside down. The world is upside down, and we're being asked to accept an upside down perception of the world and make it right. And we've done that through our conditioning, you know, to a large extent. And now to want to right the world and to see things with clear eyes, through the heart, through the eyes of the heart and mind joined, not separated, but together, to see rightly. That's what I think is motivating people to a large extent. They're like, something's off here. I want to see clearly. I want to see rightly. I've heard psilocybin, mushrooms, psychedelics can help. Where do I turn? Where do I go? And that's why I'm on so many summits, podcasts. I'm writing articles about the psychedelic experience, just to get it out of my system and to extend an invitation and express to people what's possible. And here's one place you can come, you know, like that. There are many places opening up in, you know, Oregon, Colorado, Oklahoma, like that, you know, centers and such. And I have something of a retreat center right here at home. So people can come and stay with me, and individually or in small groups, and we work together. So that's it. There's something astir. There's something afoot in the environment. I mean, look at the recent election. Doesn't matter what side you are on. What's stirred up in the consciousness of our country, but take it right down to the smallest, to the most minute level in here. People are stirred, and they're reaching out. They're looking for something.
Yes, there's, yeah, definitely realizing that there is, that looking outside of oneself is not where to find the answers.
Right. You know that. You know
Yeah.
that to be so. And yet we're so accustomed to
Mhm.
looking outside. We are truly, and I say this for myself, even for as connected to my heart as I believe I am, the practice of seeing through the eyes of my heart is still something I'm developing, to be attuned to the heart space as an energetic, a powerful energetic that can direct and guide our lives.
Yes, I think that's so true about, you know, our whole human evolution, is that we are all those, even those that are on the path are still just tuning into our potential and our capacity. You know, we're just calling that all back, but it takes time to integrate it into this human lifetime. But as we do that, we help everyone else. And boy, I see the children coming in are just
Uh,
so amazing,
uh,
and beautifully lacking some of that karma, so to speak, that we took on. But
yeah,
it's so wonderful that you are able to help people with coming back, you know, just getting on the path of their heart. And so, for those unfamiliar with the practice of plant medicine, could you explain the process of ceremonial plant medicine and how it does lead us to deeper self-awareness and to healing?
yeah. So many of the people that I work with or that I engage have had a psychedelic experience or more, many in their past, usually when they were teenagers, young adults. And but almost no one says they've had a ceremonial experience with plant medicine. So they're looking for that as distinct from a recreational approach. So ceremonially, as a mindset, as a way of thinking, um, you know, it might be better for me just to kind of share with you like how it occurs, you know. Um, so I'll just start from the point of taking people up to my fire, to my fire circle. I live
Sure.
on a lot of acreage here in southwest Colorado, and I have several places on the land where I have the fire circles, but one where I primarily work, and I've done hundreds of ceremonies in this place, and so it's like a sacred spot on the land. So we begin bringing everybody in, smudging them, blessing them with sage smoke, and helping them to drop in and settle, even before we use plant medicine. Like the first night we come together, it's just to come to the fire and to sit. Everyone recognizes a good fire. It's primal, it's ancient, there's something gets awakened in us. And when the sun's going down, that transitional time, we know the veil is thinnest at those transitional times between sunrise and sunset. And invariably what happens is the sun is going down and the fire is coming up as people drop in to a deeper, more authentic place within themselves. So I open the space. I do what I call lay down the circle with cornmeal, salt, and tobacco as an offering, as a blessing, as a gentle boundary to delineate what's outside the circle from what's inside. We're creating sacred space together. And I say words that we all recognize because it's about reclaiming language. So there's not a wasted word in my ceremonial opening. It all has weight, it all has all the meaning I can give it. And that's a teaching in and of itself, that we give everything all the meaning that we can give it. So what we say is sacred. It's sacred because we say so. So when I'm opening the circle, a sacred container, it is that because I say it's that over and over and over. And in reclaiming the language of prayer, the language of blessing, the language of sacred purpose, the language of grief, of surrender and letting go, of gratitude, taking these things deep within us and not leaving it to someone else. Often we leave things of a spiritual nature to the clergy or to someone so designated. And even for myself as a self-designated shaman, I say, take what you find here and take it home with you. Make a circle and put a fire in it where you are, where you come from, and create your own ceremony. Use everything you find with me. I'll print off copies of my prayer and my invocation for setting the circle. So that was just a sidebar. Like that, take what you find here, make it your own. But it's a very intentional practice of welcoming the directions, the four cardinal directions, the above, the below, within. I used to think I was doing this so that spirit would know where to find me. And one day my internal voice said, we always know where to find you. We always know where you are, but sometimes you don't know where you are. So locate yourself in time and space, just like that. So you know where you are, to bring yourself present, just like you did with the bowl. As soon as you started playing the bowl, I just went right into present time. And that's a piece of the ceremony, to bring ourselves into present time and to recognize and acknowledge and appreciate all the energies that are around us. I know you know what I'm talking about. The non-physical, the beings who reside on the land. The prayers like coming to me, the beings who reside on the land, the spirit of the land, the traditional owners of the land, to acknowledge those tribes who still are in the area, that this was their tribal land and it was taken from them. It was unceded land. It was taken by the government. To acknowledge that and thank them and recognize that we're just visitors here. So all of that, you can feel it and you can hear what I'm saying, all of that to ceremonially, shamanically set the space. And that's just the first night when we're just coming together to come on the land, I think of it as introducing everyone to the fire and to the spirit of the land, and introducing the fire and the spirit of the land to everyone who's come up. Let's everyone get to know each other up here. And then we go down for a good night, for a great meal and a good night's sleep. And the next day, that's the medicine day, we come back and we do all this again. Now it's familiar, but now we're doing it with the medicine. So it's safe. No one's ever been hurt. The medicine's never hurt anybody. It's never hurt me. It's safe. It's illuminating. It's enlivening. It can be super challenging at times. And so there's never a bad trip. There's just challenging trips. And they can be oftentimes the best trips because they open things up that we have just not been able to see about ourselves, or that we have resisted with everything for the whole of our lives, decades into our 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. And even the things we've already addressed. I was just working with a woman who's a trauma therapist, a senior trauma therapist. She's been at it for many decades. She did LSD with Stanislav Grof back in the 70s. And he's one of the, like Timothy Leary and Ram Dass and all those guys kind of hanging together back in the Breakfast Club of the 70s, but she's comes to be with me to experience the plant medicine, even though she's done a ton of personal work, because it gives her access to something else she did not have access to, and she recognizes it. So that's just a little bit right there.
Yeah, and I love what you just said about just giving us access to those parts of ourselves that we want to reconnect with.
Right.
Like we know that we have something very potent in our spiritual connection, the connection with our consciousness, and we know that our consciousness is so infinite, and we're only tapping into such a small amount of it. And so, yes, we all have that desire to touch into that and to know what is there, just to know ourselves.
I want to add something to that.
Mhm.
And it's very scary for a lot of people. For many, it's scary. And I did not realize, it was scary for me, but I didn't realize the extent to which that was so, that I was kind of an intrepid explorer. I just kept going back for more. And sometimes it scared me to see more of myself. But I really came to understand this with a client that he'd been with me for years already, for like 3 years, and he was just being so resistant. I'm like, what are you resisting? And he just couldn't put it into words. And then I said, what are you afraid of? And he said, I'm afraid to know who I am. And I was like, okay, that was a true statement. I felt it. I got it. Why? And he said, because everything I've built wasn't built on that. What would happen? And I understood what he was saying. What would happen in my relationship, my family, my business, if I be who I am? Will that all go away? Will I be destitute? Will I be walking the streets with an alms bowl and, pushing a grocery cart? Like, what's going to happen? So that fear of losing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. The destruction or the breakdown of our old world and the reconstruction of a new world can happen one brick at a time. Pull one out, put one in. Take one of the old ones out, put a new one in. So over time, and that's why it takes time. You as you spoke to, it takes time. It takes time to integrate. It's better that it takes time, so we don't scare ourselves to death. Gradually, as the mind becomes more accustomed to being open, as the heart becomes more accustomed to being open, it's less scary.
Yes, and I appreciate that too, because I've certainly felt that. I've certainly felt that, fact that we are afraid of the powerful beings that we actually are, that we truly are. And yeah, and that can change our lives, and just open up so many new avenues and ideas and questions also.
Yeah. In many ways, and I'll just say this broadly, the church has separated us from our own power. Well, now we're talking our own power. What about God? It's like not separate. Our deepest connection is to source, is to God within us, spirit within us, however you language that. So the separation has been profound, and it's been well crafted to keep us dependent and disempowered in many ways. I mean, consider just the feminine, how separated out the feminine has been from their power as creators, as birthers of children, that creative life force. Any woman that's paying any attention to any of that knows what I'm talking about. And I'm just a man, you know, not just a just not just any old man, but a man. And I actually facilitate women's medicine circles that come to stay, in groups and work with me. I'm like the ceremonial guy, to hold powerful space from the masculine for women to access their power, the remembrance of their power. So yes, we've been separated out, and it's a
Yeah,
return.
that's so important what you said about women and yes, the power of birth. And actually, my background is as a midwife too, and
Oh,
so
mhm.
I, I just have such a burning desire to see women reclaim their power in birth because it's been really taken away, and women don't realize it. They think it's making it easier to have technology to do things for them and to supposedly facilitate the process. But in the meantime, they're not coming into their power. They're not going like, I can do this, I can experience this, I
Yeah,
can go through this with my whole sensational being, feeling all of this.
yeah,
And so, yes, wouldn't that be amazing to do?
yeah. So
More
what you're saying,
ceremony, yeah.
yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so powerful. I mean, that whole paradigm of birthing, just that. I mean, it's been, I don't know, the word co-opted may not be the right word. It's like farmed out to the hospital. It's pregnancy is in the manual of disease diagnosis, the DSM. It has a code, right? We have four children, and they're all grown, but the three youngest were born at home, and there wasn't a question. I cut their umbilical cords, helped bring them out, held them to myself, handed them to my wife, and it's a distant memory, but it's still strongly in my field, that memory. And in my medicine bag, I have the umbilical remains of our three youngest wrapped up in a little leather pouch inside my bag, and it comes with me to every fire to honor them, you know. And our oldest is in another way honored, although I don't have her umbilical remain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Beautiful that you had that. Yeah, I was able to have my youngest at home. So that was a wonderful. Actually, I had two C-sections and then I had natural birth and a home birth. So
Oh, beautiful. That's not common.
the whole gamut of
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. Yeah, you could speak to all of it, which is really beautiful. Yeah. So coming into our own, into the feminine for the masculine and the feminine, and we're not talking about sex, we're talking about the energy of that. And so I'll say this, the the fire the circle that I work in, it's on the earth, mother. on the Earth Mother. And my fire pit is shaped like the yoni, the feminine anatomy. And through my work at the fire and working with the fire as a portal and visions I've had at the fire, I've had many, I recognize that it's guided by the feminine, that I am guided, I am informed by the feminine, and to do the best I can to honor that and recognize that guidance. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have so many women come to work with me, because they're safe with me and they can safely do the deep work they need to do. And then also to them to work with other women also to heal the sister wound that has happened between women over the eons.
Yes, that's lovely and so needed.
Mm-hmm.
So needed.
Yeah. Where were we?
So, how about telling me the difference between the ceremonial use of plant medicine and sometimes a recreational or therapeutic use?
Well, I could speak to the recreational use from my own, from like years ago. And it's great to be with a group, hanging with friends and playing music and having a lot of laughter and joy. On the therapeutic side of it, I only know from work that I've done with others who've experienced it that way or who facilitate people that way. And it's often in a room, an office or like a living room setting on a couch or a bed with a blanket and earphones and iPads. And then that's very internal, music's piped in like that. And it's effective. It makes a difference for people. And I know that the facilitators are caring, committed, sensitive individuals. There's no question. And then there's the ceremonial piece, the ceremonial aspect coming from a shamanic perspective that engages people in a, I use the word primal and ancient to describe the fire. Well, it engages people in a primal and ancient way to work shamanically with me with the medicine, taking them to the fire, being outside, invoking the spirits, offering prayers. As I said earlier, all the things I do to open the space and this expanded awareness of our connection to nature. Not like, I love taking a walk through the woods because the trees and the birds, and that's fine, that's good. But this is connection to nature, like deeply feeling the earth and the energies that are present on the earth, in the earth, around us. And there is nothing like that. It is so powerful. And to be in awe of it, to be in deep gratitude of it. I had one experience when I was alone where the fire spoke to me and clearly, and it scared me because I thought, I think I just awoke something malevolent. It was powerful like that. But it said, I'll just tell you from my experience, I see you walk my land, you take my trees, drink my water, breathe my air. Thank you will do. And I understood in that moment the power of gratitude for everything, everything. The life force that courses through us, everything. And to live, I don't mean to sound like airy-fairy is not the right word. Woo is not the right word. Unrealistic or idealistic, but to live prayerfully. Like awaken into and spend the day as, and in my work and in the most mundane of things, to feel that sense of connection and gratitude, kind of a prayerful connection to everything, especially other people. Especially other people. I live in a community, a close-knit, intentional community, and I see my neighbors going by all the time, and every opportunity I have to connect with them, to see, look them into the eye for just a moment, to give them a hug, but then not to just leave it in the community. I take that out into the world, whether I'm at the grocery store or, you know, a shop or something like that, to take a moment to connect with people. And it's like that sense of connection to everything with gratitude, to let nothing disturb your peace or rob you of joy. And when it does, you get it back. You know, you reclaim that which is sacred, which is what I call my work. Reclaim the sacred.
Yes.
So to live like that, it's a practice. It's not easy, but there's nothing like it, you know, to not be an old grump, negatively focused, watching the news, bemoaning the fate of the country. Yes, we have things to be concerned about. We can't put our heads in the sand, but don't let it take us off center and rile us up to such an extent that we're useless, you know, that we're ineffective, basically. Inner peace is the foundation for effective action. That sounds practical, doesn't it? Inner
Yeah,
peace is the foundation for effective action in the world.
absolutely. Yes, definitely. And I love what you said about connection and gratitude, because I was in Peru also recently
Ah,
and working with the shaman. And that was just what impressed me so much, is the gratitude was constant gratitude for Pachamama and
yeah.
for everything. And that connection was just so natural, just so natural part of their awareness and their person.
Hmm.
So I just really feel that is so valuable. And I can just sense from what you're sharing how you share that with others. And
Yeah.
really, you're a beautiful example of that.
Yeah, and we can each do that. You know, I make it come alive for me. I'm connected with that fiery part of myself, and, you know, get a little louder, get a little more expressive about it. And that each of us has that capacity to be really in touch with that aspect of ourselves, that expressive, dynamic, vital, connected, grateful part at the core of who we are. Yeah.
So, as you've touched on fire in the ceremony, how do you feel like fire brings forth that aspect of ourselves that we're hoping to connect with, and just expands our awareness?
Yeah. In a way, I feel like I discovered fire. Not like the guy, like the main guy, but I discovered fire. Like, oh my God, this is a powerful, dynamic, transformative element. Everything responds to fire. Fire is like the first primary. Everything, it's the most dynamic, it's the most, you know what I'm saying, transformational. And for thousands of years, thousands of generations, people have been sitting around fires for warmth, for light, for protection, for community, for communing with the divine. I know for anybody who's sat around a fire or even sat with a candle, they, you know what I'm saying. So to be with the fire, I have this experience often. It's like a, you know, beginner's mind, like a novice. I was sitting with a group just the other day in our hearth room, we were actually having a meeting, and I started making a fire for our meetings and realizing that when a fire is present, there's something distinctly different about the quality of the meeting. What gets shared, the truth that people are willing to speak, the vulnerability that gets expressed, it's a very amazing thing, and it happens almost every single time. Unless you're just doing it for s'mores and, you know, sing along, which even then it's pretty awesome. But when you do it in a very conscious, ceremonial way like that, it's just the most powerful element to have with you. One of the things I say about in my work is when I get people outside on the earth around the fire, 80% of my work is done. There's not efforting. I'm not needing to synthetically I'm not needing to manufacture anything to get people to connect, to get people to drop in. I don't have to introduce processes or, any kind of thing like that to induce people. You know what I'm saying? They just go there and it's easeful. And then we can really do some deep work, which is not to say there's anything wrong with manufacturing a process or having experiences that people can use to connect or to drop in. So fire is extraordinarily powerful as a companion, as a portal. Let's talk about it like that. In a very shamanic sense, in a magical sense, my fire pit is a portal. And to go deep into that portal, just to be present to it. When I'm at the fire, whether I'm at the fire with someone or alone, I kneel, and I often have my head bowed. Now, I'm not worshiping the fire. I'm not praying to the fire, but the fire is present as a dynamic entity, as an opening to something profound that I don't really even fully understand just how that works, But
Yes,
it's
I can feel that as you're talking about it, that, as you said, the portal and how it's kind of almost, it's drawing you in and then it's reflecting back to you what, what's there, what's waiting to be awakened. Yeah.
right. It's like what thoughts get stimulated in a conversation, in a dialogue, what arises, what emerges in the conversation is amazing. And if you really listen to the fire, as I've listened to the fire, it crackles and pops and makes all the sounds that a fire makes. Or when someone says something or something, an emotion shifts, the fire will burst or a log will fall off. But when the fire sounds like water, like running water, that's when I just stop everything and just get really close and just listen. And what's getting awakened inside me here as I'm listening to that watery sound. And I may even ask my journal, what do you have for me? What do I need to be listening for right now? And my journal being itself, it comes through my journal. Let's put it that way. Anybody who journals knows what I'm talking about. That it comes through the journal, and I can write it like things flow in. I just write it down. So all my journeys, every one of my journeys, I've journaled. Not extensively, moment to moment. I'm just writing down what's coming in, and I can look at any of those journals and remember that journey, and kind of use those scribbly sentences to reconnect with the message that came in a block, like a fuller chunk of information, if you will. I didn't know we were going to be talking about this much. I'm just like I'm reaching for the words to convey the experience because it's so profound, and it happens every time. Every time.
I am certainly drawn in. I'm feeling what you're sharing and wishing I was in the middle of it right now.
Oh my. And it's a gift for me to have had the opportunity to develop this capacity. But I want everyone to know that I work with, You too have the ability to develop this capacity if you'll open yourselves. That's all. Just be willing to open. Because there's a lot of resistance within all of us, and what it takes to be a clear vessel is it takes some work to get clear, to not be filled with, I'm speaking for myself, my judgments and my resentments and anger and, indignation. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. It's like, can I just have a break? Can we just like get this out of me for like that. So going to the fire, creating ceremony, even at home, my morning practice, get my coffee, get to my chair. Okay. We have some time together. No disturbances, to get clear. To get clear before going into the day, into the middle world where the ego is necessary. It's a healthy ego is a functional aspect of our being. It's when the ego predominates and the egos run amok. We don't have to look very far to see that in our world. Egos run amok. They're destructive. They take advantage. It's greedy. It's all about me, all that. But it's in all of us too. Yeah.
So let's come forward to your beautiful gift that you're sharing so that we can learn more about all of this amazing work that you do and how we can receive and how we can determine what we're ready to receive, what we're ready to
Yeah.
receive from ceremony, from the mushrooms. So your free gift is a guide to help people decide if psilocybin mushrooms are right for them. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's fairly simple because I don't want to complicate matters. And I'm speaking from my experience, but recognize, and I'm saying from my experience with people who have sought me out and asking themselves the same question, is this the right path for me? Or I feel like this is the right path for me. And I distinguish between the recreational and therapeutic use and put it in a ceremonial context, and I'm speaking to that. And as I spoke to earlier, it's about feeling that sense of being called. Like if you feel a calling to something within yourself, a pull to the medicine, to working with the medicine, let's explore that. And there's some really useful questions to ask. Are you ready? Are you ready? You feel like you're ready and willing to let go of the old stories so that you can write a new story for the next stage of your life. Because where you're going, you can't take the old story with you. I've encountered this in myself and with others over and over again. Where you're going, you've got to let that go. Forgiveness, surrender, acceptance, like that. So asking questions to stimulate people's thinking around, are psilocybin mushrooms right for me? And assuaging the fear or concern around dosage and safety, toxicity, like that. There's not a lot to say about it except to say, when taken in the proper dosage, in a safe setting, you're going to be good. To have a guide, you're even better. To have someone experience, especially if you're not sure how this is going to go or you've never done them ceremonially or in a shamanic space, So really exploring in a format that people can read for themselves to stimulate their own thought process around, is this what I'm looking for? Am I feeling a call to the remembrance of who I am, to reclaim what's sacred in my life, to take back my power and reclaim my precious life force? And do I want to do that? And what the mushrooms will facilitate in a ceremonial setting. It facilitates that expansion, the insights, the revelations, the new openings, the transformation that becomes possible to change your life. Not everyone wants to change their life, and change can be scary, but if you're feeling called, you almost can't ignore it. You almost cannot ignore it, except with great discomfort. I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm being called to who I am. No, no thanks. I'd rather, remember Matrix, the blue pill or the red pill? I don't want to remember. Just give me the pill. I want to forget, That's not what this is. So anyway, to help answer those questions, to stimulate the thoughts, to give people a sense of there's something here for me. It's possible. I don't have to be tripping out of my gourd or, there's ways to do it that's safe.
Yes, and I think everyone can feel your beautiful energy and how that creates that safe space,
Yeah.
and your wisdom and your experience. So it's really wonderful that this work that you're doing is just so beautiful and amazing, and can only imagine how wonderfully people are assisted through this process, and through that connection with nature and themselves and their higher power.
Yeah.
And that experience, that totally brings in that experience of spirit flooding in, of that
Exactly.
spirit we are. Yeah.
I was just thinking that when, spirit flooding in, getting out of the way so that spirit can flood in and work through us like it wants to anyway, and remembering who we are so we can live authentically from a deeper truth. In a way, if you think about it, and not very hard, the reason we're here is to remember who we truly are and to live that way. Not as the carefully constructed persona, but as who we truly are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody go for it. Live who you truly are. Yes. So thank you so much, Tom. This has been so beautiful, and everyone, the free gift will be right under this video that you can click on and find that free gift and more about Dr. Tom's amazing work and everything that he offers. And so we thank you again for this beautiful session and all that you shared. And we'll be signing off now and sharing our love and blessings with all who are watching. Thank you so much. And thank you. Any last words, Dr. Tom?
Stay connected, not with me, but with you, with your source. Don't leave home without it. It stabilizes the horizontal plane when you're connected in the vertical plane. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to say that. If that's all they get from this discussion and conversation, it'll be worth it.
But I'm sure that we've received so much more.
I hope so. Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, stay connected, and bye-bye, everyone, and we'll see you in the next session.
Adios.